My 20 farads boyfriend, 26M, hit me when I didn't listen to him, telling me to adjust my dress. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2 years now, and in many ways, he's been incredible. I've had bad relationships in the past, and compared to those, he's the best partner I've had. But there are these little things he does that feel like he's trying to assert control. For example, if I'm in a group and I say something he disagrees with, he'll squeeze my arm or grab the back of my neck. He's also particular about what I wear, especially when we go out. He doesn't want me wearing anything above my knees because he says he doesn't want other men looking at me. Earlier today, we were on our way to meet up with some friends. As we got out of the car, he told me to pull down my dress. I said no because I liked how it looked, and then he told me to stop with the attitude and just listen for once. Frustrated, I made a snarky comment, saying he's the last person I take fashion advice from. He stared at me for a moment, turned to leave, and I immediately regretted it. So I reached out to grab his arm to apologize, but when I did, he pulled his arm away, and it swung back, hitting me in the face. It hurt, and I was stunned, so I said, "Ouch." He grabbed my face and told me I should have just listened to him from the start. He apologized later in the car and said it was a mistake, that he didn't mean to hit me, but he was upset at the idea of other men seeing me like that, especially since his friends would be there. I haven't fully accepted his apology yet, and we haven't spoken much since it happened a few hours ago. I know he has a short temper, and he's mentioned before that he struggles to control himself when he's in a certain mood. He's also shared that he had a very abusive childhood and doesn't believe in hitting women, which makes this even more confusing for me. Now, I'm torn. I don't know if I'm overreacting, or if what happened is actually as serious as it feels. I've lost track of what's normal and what's not in relationships like this.
Story 2. My boyfriend, M28, looked at shared nudes MI, F27. Overreacting? I have always trusted my boyfriend in our relationship. He has not given me any reason to doubt our relationship until today. While looking at some old pictures of us on his phone, particularly some of our earlier dates, I came across something that made me slightly uncomfortable. In his recently deleted, I found several NSFW images from a photo shoot of a girl we both know. I was disturbed and thrown off guard, trying to understand why these images were even present on his phone, especially since they were not of a random person, but rather someone within our acquaintances. When I turned to him with my question, he did appear to be a bit nervous, as if this is a tricky one to explain. He went on to explain how one of his friends had taken the photo and sent it to a bunch of people, him included, and that was how the photo ended up in his phone. Apparently, the original sender, who is also a friend of ours, was excited to share these private, intimate photos because the girl in the photo shoot is undeniably attractive. He claimed he had no idea how the sender had gotten these images, and that they weren't posted on any of her social media profiles, which made it feel even more invasive and personal. My boyfriend admitted that he had looked at the photos because he was curious. He said it in a way that made me think he regretted it, and he looked ashamed while explaining everything. He told me he didn't forward them to anyone else or talk about it to others, but he did look at them. And while part of me believes that he's being honest about it, I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. It's not that he's never looked at sexual content before, he has, and that's never bothered me. If it were some anonymous model or a celebrity, I could understand. That's normal, and I don't see an issue with that. But this is someone we both know personally. Someone we see, talk to, and hang out with. It makes me feel deeply uncomfortable that he looked at such private photos of her. What also bothers me is that I don't even know if she's aware her pictures are being circulated like this. It looked like a professional or semi-professional photo shoot, definitely something meant to be private. The idea that these photos were shared without her consent is infuriating, and the fact that my boyfriend participated by looking at them makes me feel like he's complicit in something really wrong. He was curious, yes, but what does that say about respect, both for me and for her? Since we talked about it, he's been apologetic, telling me how guilty he feels. He insists he didn't mean to hurt me, and I don't think he intended to betray me, but the damage is still done. I can't stop thinking about how this situation makes me question things in our relationship. Has he done something like this before and just hasn't been caught? Would he look at something like this again if given the chance? It makes me question his boundaries and where he draws the line when it comes to respecting others. I don't know if I'm overreacting or if I'm justified in feeling hurt and disappointed. I've always trusted him implicitly, and this is the first time I've ever felt unsure about his actions. He's never been inappropriate with another woman before, and he's always been open with me about what's on his mind. But this situation feels different. It's personal, and I feel let down. I don't know if I'm making this bigger than it needs to be, or if I have every right to be upset. Either way, I can't shake the feeling of betrayal and disappointment. Story 3. I, 34 Farads, found my fiance, 34M, on FetLife. What does this mean for our relationship? I'm feeling really confused right now and unsure of what to do next. I need to get this off my chest. My fiance and I have been together for 5 years, and overall, our relationship has been pretty strong. Early on, he introduced me to one of his kinks. At first, I was hesitant, but over time, I grew more comfortable with it, and we now both enjoy exploring it together. We've built trust around this shared interest, and I thought we were on the same page in terms of boundaries. However, a few months into our relationship, I discovered that he had been messaging another woman about his kink and even sent her a picture of himself. When I confronted him, he said he was just curious and wanted to learn more about his fetish. I wasn't thrilled, but we used it as an opportunity to communicate about boundaries. I made it clear that I didn't want him involving others, and he seemed to understand. From then on, we focused on how we could explore his interests together without bringing other people into the mix. Over time, we started discussing the possibility of meeting other people who shared his fetishes, particularly through online communities like FetLife. We'd read posts together and even fantasized about having another dominant woman join us. But I always made it clear that while I could engage in the fantasy, I wasn't sure I was comfortable with bringing it into reality. Earlier this year, things took a turn. I found out that he was communicating with another woman on FetLife. They exchanged pictures, some of which were intimate, and in their conversations, he admitted to being in a relationship, but also expressed uncertainty about what he wanted. He even asked if they could FaceTime to ensure she was serious about the conversation. When I confronted him about it, he explained that he'd been thinking a lot about the possibility of a third person in our relationship and was testing the waters to see if she'd be interested in meeting us both. At the time, I believed him, and despite my initial discomfort, I became involved in the conversation with this woman. However, it didn't take long for me to realize that while I enjoyed the fantasy of involving someone else, the reality was much more uncomfortable for me. I ultimately told him that I wasn't okay with us engaging with others on FetLife, and to his credit, he respected that. We moved on, or so I thought. Then last week, I found out he had created a new FetLife account about a month ago. I stumbled across this when I saw an email notification pop up, and I admit, I went digging to see what was going on. To my disappointment, I found out he had been speaking to yet another woman. In their conversation, he told her that he wasn't single, that he was happy in his relationship, but admitted to feeling unsure about what he wanted. They exchanged messages, and when she asked if he'd be open to some sort of online-only sexual interaction, he agreed, saying they could try. I confronted him again, and this time he seemed remorseful. He insisted that it wasn't about S*X, that he was just curious, and that he knew it was wrong. He kept saying that I'm more than enough for him, and that what he did wasn't a reflection of me or our relationship, but a poor decision on his part. He also claimed that it was never going to lead to anything's asterisk, though the messages clearly indicated otherwise. Now I'm left questioning everything. I don't know whether I should believe him and try to move past this or if I should walk away. He's made poor choices more than once, and even though he claims he's happy, his actions keep crossing lines we had agreed on. It's tough because I love him, and we've been together for so long, but I'm starting to wonder if this is a pattern of behavior that's only going to continue. I'm not sure if I can fully trust him again, especially when he seems to keep going behind my back, even after we've had serious conversations about boundaries. Do I give him another chance? Or is this a sign that our relationship might not be as solid as I thought? I'm so confused and hurt, and I don't know what to do next.
Story 4. My 22M girlfriend, 19 Farads, is going to a Halloween college frat party in revealing outfits, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. So, my girlfriend and her best friend, both 19, are planning to go to a Halloween frat party this weekend. I'm not attending because, honestly, I'm not the college type or into the party scene anymore. I've been to my share of parties, and I've outgrown them, so I told her to go ahead and have fun without me. I want her to enjoy herself and experience these things while she's still young. Now, here's where things get tricky. I've had problems with her best friend in the past. She has a bit of a reputation for hooking up with random guys at these parties and generally loves to sleep around. It's something I've been uncomfortable with, mainly because I don't trust the environment she's going into. Not because I don't trust my girlfriend, but still, I know what happens at these parties, and I wasn't super excited about her going, especially without me. Despite my concerns, I agreed she could go because I don't want to be that controlling boyfriend, and I do want her to have fun. She'll be gone from Friday night until Saturday, but my biggest concern isn't the party itself, it's what she's planning to wear. I've always been pretty laid back about what she wears. Tiny skirts, tube tops, crop tops, I'm cool with all that. I'm not the kind of guy to tell my girlfriend what she can and can't wear. But this time, she wants to wear something that really threw me off. She bought a see-through dress, and underneath she's planning to wear a micro thong and bra. And when I say see-through, I mean everything is clearly visible. She also bought another costume, a slutty cowgirl outfit, which is just a tiny skirt, tube top, and a cowgirl hat, because she wants to wear a different costume on each night of the party. Before she bought the see-through dress, she showed it to me and asked what I thought. I told her straight up that I didn't think it was a good idea. I wasn't trying to be controlling, but I just didn't feel comfortable with her going to a frat party in something so revealing, especially without me there. I know how frat guys can be, and I've seen situations get messy at parties like these. But when I shared how I felt, she just laughed it off and bought the dress anyway. It felt like my opinion didn't really matter to her. This isn't the first time we've had a conversation like this. She's worn things in the past that made me a little uncomfortable, and we've talked about it. This time, I tried to suggest a compromise like, why don't you wear the slutty cowgirl outfit both nights? It's still sexy, but it's not as revealing. But she wasn't having it. She said she'd already bought both costumes, so she's going to wear both. End of story. She also told me she talked to her friends about it, and they all told her she should be able to wear whatever she wants, which I get, but it still doesn't ease my mind. Maybe I'm being overprotective, or maybe it's the fact that I won't be there with her. I know she loves me and I trust her, but the idea of her in these outfits, surrounded by frat guys who won't respect boundaries, really bothers me. It feels like my concerns are being brushed aside, and I don't know how to handle this situation without coming across as controlling or insecure. Am I overreacting? Should I just let her wear what she wants and not worry about it? Or am I justified in feeling uneasy about this whole thing?
I, 25 Farats, have been with my partner Zach, 26M, for nearly 9 years. We met in high school, and although that part might sound romantic, our relationship has been anything but easy. When I was 17, I left home for personal reasons, and within 6 months, I moved in with Zach's family. We've been living together for about 6 years now, and during that time, we've faced countless challenges. From the start, our relationship has been rocky. We've had fights, breakups, and even kicked each other out at times. Despite this, we always end up getting back together. I often wonder if I'm still with Zach because my social circle is now intertwined with his family and friends, or if it's because we've built such a long history together. We've also realized over time that we want very different things out of life, but for some reason, we keep holding on to the relationship. One of the biggest challenges came when I realized I wanted something different romantically. I came out to Zach as asexual later in our relationship, and although he always knew I was queer, it became clear that I wasn't enjoying intimacy in the same way he did. I admitted to him that I had been faking it for a while, and for a long time, I was only able to enjoy it when I was high. This revelation brought a lot of pressure on both of us, especially as he tried to make intimacy more fun for me. But no matter what we did, the pressure led to panic attacks and anxiety, which only made everything worse. At one point, I started feeling like I wasn't good enough for him. I feared that if I couldn't satisfy him, he'd lose interest and leave. This fear caused me to fake enjoyment more often, which led to me feeling disgusted with myself. I found myself dissociating during intimate moments, just waiting for them to be over. Despite knowing the risks, we decided to open up our relationship. I know open relationships don't work for everyone, but I genuinely didn't think Zach would act on it. He's always made it clear that, despite our issues, he wanted to be with me and felt bad about how our intimacy was affecting me. Then it happened. He met a girl in our neighborhood online, and he told me they were going to meet up. I was distracted at the time and didn't realize he meant that day. I also didn't know he was going to bring her to our apartment. I had made it very clear that, for an open relationship to work, there needed to be honesty and communication. He didn't ask for my permission to bring her into our home, and he didn't tell me until the next day. That night, I came home upset because of work, and he said nothing. He let me sleep in the bed where they had been together only hours earlier. The worst part, he kissed me goodnight as if nothing had happened. When I found out what had happened, I felt completely violated. My home, my safe space, was used for something I never agreed to. I thought meeting her meant getting coffee, not bringing her into the apartment I primarily pay for. This is my home, and I feel like he destroyed that sense of safety. Zach later told me that things went further than he had expected. He claims the girl got flirty and pressured him. Afterward, she felt bad and unfollowed him on social media, apparently feeling sorry for me. The next day, Zach acted like he had been broken up with, which confused me even more. It wasn't until we were running errands that he told me the truth. They had slept together. I couldn't even react because we were out in public. He's been uncertain about how he feels about the whole situation, but that uncertainty says enough to me. I'm stuck. I've just booked plane tickets for a 10-year anniversary trip to Scotland, and I was planning on proposing to him there. Even after all the hurt we've caused each other over the years, I realized I couldn't see myself with anyone else. Almost a decade together creates a comfort level that's hard to find with someone new. But at the same time, I wish he would show he cared more and put in more effort into our relationship. We've shared so many experiences, good and bad, and I can't just erase that. Now I don't know what to do. I have no place to go, and if he moves back in with his family, I can't afford to live on my own. I'm scared, lost, and unsure of what steps to take next. Story 6. I, 19 Farads, am in a happy relationship with my boyfriend, 21M. But there's one issue that's been bothering me. Over the past year, everything has been great between us, except for this situation that's causing me to worry. Lately, my boyfriend has been studying late at night with a female friend. Let's call her Jane. Normally, I don't mind him having female friends, but they often study alone. And one time, he stayed at her apartment until 10 p.m. This made me uncomfortable, so I told him how I felt. He reassured me, saying that I didn't need to worry about her and asked me to trust him. Last month was our 1-year anniversary. The day before, he told me he didn't want to spend the day with me because he had to study with Jane. He asked if we could celebrate another day instead. I let him know that I was uncomfortable with that, but he insisted that he needed to study for midterms and Jane was the best person to study with. He could tell I was upset, so he canceled with her and spent our anniversary with me. I was happy that he chose to be with me, but I couldn't stop thinking about how I felt like a second choice on such an important day. What made it worse was that he had the entire reading week to study, but had forgotten. Another incident that bothered me happened after we had some intimate time over the phone. He said he needed to leave the call for a moment, but he never came back because he was busy texting her. They've only known each other for 6 months, but have become very close very quickly. I've tried to figure out if my feelings of unease about their friendship are because of my past relationship. My ex-partner cheated on me, and I don't know if my current worries are rooted in that betrayal, or if there's a genuine issue here. It breaks my heart because my boyfriend is incredibly sweet, and I can't imagine him cheating on me. Even my friends have told me that a guy like him would never do something like that. I've never loved someone as much as I love him, and he's always been kind to me. I desperately want to trust him, but I can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. Every time I bring it up, he tells me he wants me to trust him, but I don't know what to do. I want to trust him so badly, but I'm struggling to move past these feelings. Story 7. I, 32 Farads, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, 28M, for about a year, and I've noticed some strange behavior regarding his phone. In the beginning, he used to check out Instagram thirst traps, which led to a lot of arguments between us. I expressed my unhappiness about him ogling those women, and while he reduced it, I still notice it popping up in his Explore feed due to the algorithm. I trust him enough now not to care too much, but it's still on my mind. I've told him that I love him and trust him, and it's ultimately his choice whether he continues to look at those girls. I made it clear that I won't doubt him unless he gives me a reason to. However, recently I've noticed he's been acting weird about his phone. Sometimes he won't let me touch it, especially his Instagram. For instance, today we were looking at a model together, and when I asked him to open her profile, he quickly closed the app and hid his phone. He told me that if I wanted to see it, I should use my own phone instead. I found this behavior strange and felt upset. I told him that if I couldn't touch his phone, then he wouldn't be touching mine either. He responded by banging the table in anger, throwing his headphones, and shouting. I was confused about why it was such a big deal. Later, he tried to explain that he didn't want me to see his phone, but didn't really give a clear reason for his reaction. The thing is, he often looks up people on my phone, including some friends of mine that he doesn't follow. I've let that slide without issue. So, I'm left wondering if I was wrong to ask to see something on his phone or why he reacted so strongly. It feels like a double standard, and I'm confused about the situation. Story 8. I'm hoping to get some perspective on a situation I'm currently facing. I, 28 Farads, recently started dating this amazing guy, 30M, for the past couple of weeks. We clicked instantly, went on 4 fantastic dates, and everything felt right. The chemistry was undeniable, and I felt more comfortable with him than I have with anyone in a long time. However, there's a twist that has me feeling anxious and unsure about where things stand. A little background. I went through a tough breakup last year. My ex-boyfriend cheated on me, which shattered my trust and made me extremely cautious in new relationships. After that experience, I made a conscious decision to take things slow. I wanted to make sure I was in a healthy relationship this time around, so I communicated my feelings to my new partner right from the start. He was incredibly understanding and supportive, which made me feel more at ease. We've been having a great time together. Whether we're out for dinner or just enjoying each other's company, I genuinely enjoy being with him. However, while scrolling through Instagram one day, I noticed that one of my friends had liked one of his posts. They don't follow each other, which made me a bit curious, so I casually brought it up. When I asked him how they knew each other, I was not prepared for his response. He looked surprised at first, but then revealed that they had actually hooked up a few weeks before we started dating. My heart sank as he told me this, and I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, shock, disappointment, and insecurity. It felt like a punch to the gut to know that the guy I was developing feelings for had been with someone I considered a friend. He assured me that it was a one-time thing, and he regretted it. He emphasized that he was genuinely interested in pursuing a relationship with me and wanted to take things slow. Despite his reassurances, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. I started to wonder if I was just a rebound or if he still had lingering feelings for her. I mean, they had a physical connection, and here I was, still trying to unpack my own emotional baggage from past relationships. The fact that he had this history with my friend gnawed at me, and I felt a wave of insecurities wash over me. I thought, what if he still has feelings for her? Am I just the consolation prize? I found myself replaying the moments we'd shared together, and a sense of doubt began to creep in. I wanted to be rational and trust him, but the fear of betrayal lingered in the back of my mind. I had a moment of vulnerability and expressed my concerns to him. I told him how his past with my friend made me feel insecure and anxious about our relationship. I wanted to be honest about my feelings without coming off as overly jealous or controlling. He listened to me attentively and reassured me that he wanted to build something real with me. He emphasized that his past with her was behind him and that he was excited about the potential of our relationship. However, despite his kind words, I felt torn. I didn't want to let my past dictate my present or future, but the emotional weight of what had happened was hard to shake off. As I reflected on the situation, I began to realize that my feelings of insecurity weren't solely about him and my friend. They were also about my own fears of being vulnerable again. It dawned on me that I had built up walls around my heart to protect myself from being hurt again, and this new relationship was challenging those defenses. I want to trust him, but it's a struggle. Here's where I could really use some advice. How can I communicate my feelings without pushing him away? I want to be open and honest, but I also don't want him to feel burdened by my insecurities. What steps can I take to rebuild trust in this new relationship? How can I start to feel secure without projecting my past experiences onto him? Should I be worried about his past with my friend? Or am I just overthinking things? I don't want to be that person who holds on to past relationships, but it's hard to let go. How can I manage my emotions better? I want to be present in this relationship and not let my fears overshadow the connection we're building. I know relationships take time and effort, and I'm genuinely excited about the potential with this guy. But I also don't want to sabotage something good because of my insecurities. Any insights, personal experiences, or advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening. Story 9. I'm here to share a story that's been weighing on my mind, and I could really use some perspective. So, 28 Farads, recently started dating this amazing guy, 30M, and I can't stress enough how well we clicked. We met a few weeks ago and quickly found ourselves going on multiple dates. Everything was going smoothly, and we had a genuine connection that felt refreshing after a rough breakup I went through not too long ago. To give you some context, my last relationship ended pretty badly. My ex cheated on me, which left me with a lot of trust issues. Because of that, I've been trying to take things slow with this new guy. I was upfront about my past and how it had made me hesitant to dive headfirst into anything serious again. Thankfully, he was understanding, which made me feel safe enough to start letting my guard down. Fast forward a bit, and things were still going great. We hadn't even kissed yet, as I was trying to take my time, and he was respectful of that. I was genuinely happy. But then, everything changed one day when I noticed something strange while scrolling through Instagram. I saw that one of my friends, let's call her Sarah, had liked one of his posts. Now, Sarah and I are pretty close, and I know she doesn't follow him. Naturally, I was curious, so I brought it up to him. When I asked how he knew her, I was taken aback by his response. He said they had hooked up a few weeks before we started dating. My heart sank. I felt a rush of emotions, confusion, anger, and a hint of betrayal. I had no idea they had been involved at all, and hearing it just knocked the wind out of me. He assured me that it was a mistake and that he regretted it. He was clearly uncomfortable with the conversation, but insisted that he was focused on me now. But here's the thing. It was hard for me to shake off the insecurity. I couldn't help but think, am I just a rebound? Is he still interested in her? Even though he was saying all the right things, my mind was spiraling with doubts. After a couple of days of wrestling with my feelings, I finally decided to confront him. I needed to be honest about how his past with Sarah made me feel. I expressed my concerns and told him that I was struggling with the idea of him being with someone I knew. He listened, and to his credit, he was incredibly patient. He reiterated that he wanted to be with me and that his past with Sarah was just that, his past. But despite his reassurances, the weight of the situation lingered in the air. I realized that my feelings of insecurity were rooted in my fear of vulnerability. I wanted to trust him, I truly did. However, every time I thought about their history, it sent me down a rabbit hole of doubt. Things came to a head when we were out with friends one night. Sarah was there, and I felt a pang of anxiety every time she laughed or interacted with him. I tried to play it cool, but inside, I was a mess. They seemed comfortable with each other, and I couldn't shake the feeling that their past might overshadow my new relationship. After a few drinks, I found myself stepping outside for some fresh air. I took a moment to collect my thoughts, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I couldn't help but wonder if I was setting myself up for heartbreak again. Eventually, I decided to talk to Sarah. I wanted to understand their history better, but I also worried that it might complicate things further. Would it be weird to bring it up? Would it make me look insecure? But the urge to clarify the situation was strong, and I felt I had to confront my fears head on. So I reached out to her, and we ended up meeting for coffee. I told her about my feelings and asked about her past with my boyfriend. To my surprise, she was really understanding and assured me that it was a brief encounter that meant nothing to her now. She told me that she could see how happy he was with me, which gave me a small glimmer of hope. Despite that conversation, I still felt a cloud of uncertainty hanging over my relationship. I wanted to believe in the connection we had, but I couldn't ignore the history. As time went on, I realized I needed to decide whether I was going to let my past control my present or take a leap of faith. It wasn't easy, but I decided to give it a shot. I told my boyfriend that I wanted to focus on us and not dwell on the past. Now, we're still navigating this new territory together. I'm trying to open my heart again while keeping my insecurities in check. It's a journey, and I'm hopeful that I can learn to trust him fully. So that's where I am right now. It's complicated, but I'm doing my best to move forward and embrace what we have. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Any thoughts or experiences similar to mine would be greatly appreciated. Nightbury339@mailworth.net. Story 10. I want to share my experience with you all, and I hope you can relate or offer some advice. This is a story about love, trust issues, and the roller coaster ride of emotions that comes with finding someone special. So, I'm a 28-year-old woman who recently started dating an incredible guy, Jake, 30M. We met at a mutual friend's party a few weeks ago, and honestly, it felt like fate. We connected immediately over shared interests, music, books, and our mutual love for adventure. Our chemistry was electric, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had met someone truly special. We hit it off and ended up going on a series of amazing dates. From long walks in the park to cozy dinners under the stars, every moment felt magical. We laughed, shared stories, and talked about everything under the sun. Jake was sweet, attentive, and made me feel safe. But there was one little hiccup: my past. You see, my last relationship left me with some serious trust issues. My ex cheated on me, and that betrayal cut deep. I found it hard to trust anyone fully, and I was determined to take things slow this time around. Jake understood my hesitation, and instead of pushing me, he was patient and respectful. I really admired him for that. As we continued to see each other, I started to let my guard down. It felt refreshing to be with someone who cared about my feelings. However, things took an unexpected turn when I discovered that Jake had a history with one of my friends, Sarah. One evening, I was scrolling through Instagram and noticed that Sarah had liked one of Jake's posts. It struck me as odd since they didn't follow each other. Naturally, I brought it up during dinner, and that's when my heart sank. Jake revealed that they had hooked up a few weeks before we started dating. He said it was a mistake and that he regretted it. My heart raced as I tried to process this new information. Even though he reassured me that it meant nothing, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling in the back of my mind. I felt like I was competing with a ghost from his past, and it made my insecurities bubble to the surface. It was hard not to think about how their encounter might linger in his mind. Despite my fears, I didn't want to ruin what we had built together. I decided to confront him, expressing how his past with Sarah made me feel uncomfortable. Jake listened intently, his brow furrowed with concern as I shared my worries. He promised me that I was his priority and that he wanted to focus on us. After a heartfelt conversation, we made a pact to be open with each other. We agreed to work through our insecurities together, no matter how messy it got. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, and for the first time, I believed that we could make this work. A few days later, I decided to meet Sarah for coffee. I wanted to understand her perspective and figure out if there were any lingering feelings. As we sat across from each other, I shared my concerns about Jake. To my surprise, she was incredibly supportive. She explained that their fling was brief and had no emotional connection. She could see how happy I was with Jake and wanted nothing more than for us to thrive. Her words helped me regain some confidence, and I realized that I needed to focus on what Jake and I were building together. With every passing day, our bond deepened. He surprised me with spontaneous dates, like picnics at the park and stargazing sessions where we shared our dreams for the future. He made me feel valued and cherished, and I couldn't help but fall more in love with him. One night, while cuddled up on the couch, Jake looked deep into my eyes and said, "I know we have our pasts, but I want you to know that you're my future." Those words melted my heart, and in that moment, I felt a surge of love for him. I realized that our relationship was worth fighting for, and I wanted to let go of my fears. As the weeks went by, we continued to grow closer. We navigated the ups and downs of our relationship, always prioritizing communication and honesty. I learned to trust him more and more, and he did everything he could to show me that I was his number one. Then came the day when we decided to take a trip together. Jake surprised me with a weekend getaway to a beautiful cabin in the mountains. As we hiked through the scenic trails, hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The beauty of nature mirrored the joy I felt in my heart. That evening, as we sat by the crackling fire, I looked into Jake's eyes and saw my future. The warmth of the flames illuminated his face, and I knew I was falling deeper in love. We talked about our dreams, our goals, and how we wanted to support each other. It was a moment of clarity. I didn't want to let my past define my present. As the night drew to a close, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I leaned in and kissed him, feeling every emotion flood through me. He pulled me closer, and for the first time, I felt secure in our relationship. Today, I'm learning to embrace love without the shadows of doubt clouding my heart. Jake has become my safe space, and I'm grateful for the journey we've taken together. We still talk about our pasts, but instead of letting them haunt us, we use them as stepping stones toward a brighter future. Thanks for reading my story, Reddit. Love can be messy, but it's also beautiful. I hope we can all find the courage to face our fears and let love guide us. Story 11. Hey, I'm here to share a confession that has been weighing on my heart for quite some time. I, 27 Farrads, recently reconnected with my ex-boyfriend, Mark, 29M, after being apart for nearly 3 years. Our breakup was messy and filled with misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and too many unsaid words. At the time, I was overwhelmed with personal issues, and instead of communicating my struggles, I shut him out. He was a great guy, and looking back, I realized I pushed him away when all he wanted was to be there for me. Fast forward to a couple of months ago when I got a message from him out of the blue. He had moved back to our hometown and wanted to catch up. I was both excited and nervous. Part of me was thrilled at the chance to see him again, while another part feared reopening old wounds. When we met for coffee, it felt surreal. The chemistry was still there, but it was mixed with the weight of our past. We talked about our lives, the mistakes we made, and how we had grown since then. Mark was incredibly understanding and even apologized for how he had reacted during our breakup. Hearing him say that made me realize how much I had regretted how things ended between us. As we spent more time together, those old feelings started creeping back in. He was still charming, funny, and so easy to talk to. We went on a few casual outings, and I found myself reminiscing about the good times we shared. It was as if no time had passed, but I was also hyper-aware of the walls I had built around my heart. One evening, we ended up back at his place after dinner, and we started reminiscing about our favorite memories together. I felt a mix of nostalgia and fear. I was scared of falling back into old patterns, but I couldn't ignore how much I still cared for him. He leaned in and kissed me, and I felt that spark all over again. But then the reality hit me. Was I just romanticizing our past? Was I ready to let him back into my life after all the hurt? I pulled away, and the moment of bliss turned into confusion. I told him I needed time to think, and he respected my decision, though I could see the disappointment in his eyes. Now I'm stuck in a dilemma. I want to give our relationship another shot because I believe we can be better together, but I'm terrified of repeating the past. I don't want to hurt him again, but the connection we have is undeniable. I've been second-guessing myself for days and don't know whether to pursue this new chapter or keep him at arm's length. So Reddit, I confess, I want to take a chance on love again, but I'm haunted by the shadows of my past. Should I follow my heart, or should I protect both of us from potential heartbreak? Story 12. Hey, everyone. I'm here to share a confession that's been tearing me apart inside. I, 24 Farads, have a best friend, Lily, 25 Farads, who means the world to me. We've been inseparable since college, and I love her like a sister. We share everything, our dreams, fears, and even our love lives. But there's something I've been hiding from her, and it's eating me alive. A few months ago, Lily started dating this amazing guy, Tom, 26M. They clicked right away, and I was genuinely happy for her. But here's the catch. I had a brief fling with Tom during our sophomore year, before he even met Lily. It was a casual thing, nothing serious, and we both agreed to move on. I thought I had buried that chapter of my life, but now it's come back to haunt me. Lily adores Tom, and it's clear he feels the same way about her. They share a bond that's so pure and beautiful, but every time I see them together, I can't help but remember our past. I know it was years ago and that it was nothing but a fling, but the guilt is suffocating. I feel like I'm betraying Lily's trust by keeping this secret. I've tried to rationalize it, thinking, maybe it's best if I never tell her. What good would it do to bring up something from the past that's long gone? But then I worry about the what-ifs. What if she finds out from someone else? What if she feels like I've been lying to her? I can't imagine losing our friendship over this. One night, while we were out for drinks, Lily brought up Tom and how she's falling for him. She said he's the best thing that's ever happened to her, and I felt a pang of guilt wash over me. I smiled and nodded, but inside, I felt like I was about to explode. The next day, I made a decision. I needed to talk to Lily, but I didn't know how to approach it. Should I just come clean about my fling with Tom? Or should I keep it to myself to protect our friendship? I spent hours debating it in my head, feeling like I was trapped in this moral dilemma. Finally, I decided to write her a letter. I poured my heart out, explaining how much she means to me and how I've been struggling with this secret. I told her about my past with Tom and how it was before they even started dating. I ended the letter with a heartfelt apology, hoping she would understand where I was coming from. I left the letter in her mailbox, my heart racing as I waited for her response. I didn't want to lose her, but I knew I had to be honest. When she finally called me, my heart sank. I could hear the surprise in her voice, followed by silence. I feared the worst, but to my relief, she told me she appreciated my honesty and that she would never hold something like that against me. She said it was a small blip in our lives and that our friendship was too strong to let it come between us. We talked through it, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. We promised to always be open with each other, no matter what. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Sometimes, honesty, even when it's difficult, is the best way to maintain the bonds that matter most. So here's my confession, Reddit. I've learned that our pasts don't have to dictate our futures. Love and friendship can endure through honesty. And I'm grateful to have Lily in my life.
Story 13. My GF, 18 Farads, was hooking up with a known loser before me, 18M. Why do I feel so annoyed by that? My GF and I have dating for 3 months now, and I love her so much. She's very smart and funny, not to mention very beautiful. I think our relationship is amazing, and so far I've had no problems with her or her personality. However, I always do think about one thing. It's something that I think about when I lie awake at night. The problem is that her previous hookup was some loser that is very well known for being really weird. Like the type of kid that likes toilet jokes at the age of 18, and he is one of those people who are obsessed with being Sigma. I just don't understand it. A lot of the time I sit awake and think what she saw in him. It just kind of baffles me. It also doesn't help that whenever I hang out with friends, they poke fun at my GF getting with and hanging around the school's bottom-tier male friend group. I haven't, and I really don't plan on telling her any of this information, as I feel like it wouldn't help anything but make things between us worse. I think that for the most part, I'm respected and known around my school, and I think that my girlfriend is the same way. I just don't really understand why she would stoop so low. She's had relationships in the past, and the main guy she dated was a pretty normal guy who I could see why she dated him. I understand that this is a me problem and 100% think that, but I still don't understand it. Because the way I see it, I'm better than this guy in every way. Everyone else says that as well and makes fun of me because my GF got with him for a couple months. I don't think it's jealousy because I genuinely think there is not one thing he does better than I do. It would be very much appreciated if someone wouldn't shit on me for feeling the way I do, but rather offer a solution that can rid me of these feelings. Do I go to therapy? Do I mention these feelings to her? Story 14. GF, 19 female, sat on my lap, 19 male, and I got excited. You think she's disgusted? So this is a bit embarrassing to talk about, but I'm 19M and I've been dating my girlfriend, 19 Farads, for about a month now. Things have been going great so far. We've been hanging out a lot, having fun, and really getting to know each other. It's my first serious relationship, so I'm still figuring things out, especially when it comes to physical stuff. Anyway, something happened today that's been messing with my head a bit, and I can't stop thinking about it. My girlfriend came over to my place, and we were just chilling in my room, talking and joking around. At one point, she decided to sit on my lap while we were on the couch. She had never done that before. She usually sits beside me or across from me when we hang out. But this time, she sat facing me with her legs on either side of mine and started hugging me. Now, here's where it gets awkward. As soon as she sat down, I could feel myself getting a bit excited. You know, down there. I wasn't trying to, but I guess it just kind of happened because of how close we were, and she was moving a little bit while we were talking. I'm almost 100% sure that she could feel it too, because it was definitely pressing against her at one point. The thing is, she didn't say anything or act weird. She just kept hugging me, but she started to rock back and forth a little, like moving her hips in this slow, casual way. Now, I don't know if she was doing that because she felt it and was trying to act like it wasn't there, or if she was just moving around without thinking about it. But at that moment, I was freaking out inside. I was so worried she'd be disgusted or think I'm a total creep for getting excited while she's just sitting on me. I mean, it's not like I planned it or anything, it's just how my body reacted, but still, I was paranoid that I'd weird her out. I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to make the situation more awkward. I thought about joking around or saying something to lighten the mood, but I didn't know how to bring it up without making things even weirder. After a few minutes, she got off my lap and sat beside me again, and we just kept talking like nothing happened. But I can't stop thinking about whether she noticed or if she thought it was gross, and just didn't say anything to spare my feelings. For those of you who have been in similar situations, how did you handle it? I'm worried that I messed things up, and I don't want her to feel uncomfortable around me. Do you think I should bring it up next time we hang out, or just let it go and hope she didn't mind? Would a girl be weirded out by something like this? Any advice on how to not let this get in my head would be appreciated. Thanks. Story 15. Accidentally told my GF I love her, 22 farads, during a heated moment. I'm not sure she feels the same. So I, 22M, have been dating my girlfriend, 22 farads, for about 3 months now. Things have been going pretty well between us. We hang out a lot, have fun together, and she's honestly one of the coolest people I've ever met. We're not overly serious yet, but I can definitely see things getting there. Anyway, something happened the other day that's making me feel super awkward, and I don't know how to handle it. We were at my place watching a movie and things started to get a bit heated. You know, some light making out, touching, nothing crazy. But as things were progressing, I was really into the moment, and out of nowhere I blurted out, "I love you." The thing is, I don't know if I meant to say it. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like her, but I wasn't planning to say that yet. It just kind of slipped out in the heat of the moment. As soon as I said it, I could feel my heart drop because I wasn't sure if she felt the same way, and I didn't want to freak her out or rush things. She kind of froze for a second and then just kissed me again without saying anything. We carried on like nothing happened, but now I can't stop thinking about it. She hasn't brought it up since, and I'm not sure if she just didn't hear me, chose to ignore it, or just didn't feel the same way. I've been stressing ever since. Now I'm torn between bringing it up and seeing if she actually feels the same, or just letting it go and pretending it didn't happen. I don't want to make things weird or put pressure on her if she's not ready for that kind of talk yet. But at the same time, I kind of want to know where we stand. Has anyone else been in a situation like this? Is it a bad idea to ask her about it? I really don't want to ruin what we have going, but the awkwardness is killing me inside. Any advice would be super helpful. Story 16. I, 21M, found out my GF, 20 farads, was planning to break up with me from a shared Google Doc, so I don't even know where to start. I'm 21M and my girlfriend, 20 farads, and I've been dating for almost 2 years now. We met in college, and things were honestly amazing for the first year. We were inseparable, constantly texting, calling, spending weekends together, you name it. She was my best friend, but recently things have been feeling a bit off. Over the last couple of months, I noticed that she's been distant, less affectionate, takes longer to reply to messages, and doesn't seem as excited to hang out as she used to be. I chalked it up to stress from school because she's been swamped with her coursework. I figured I'd give her space and be supportive, hoping things would get back to normal. Yesterday, I was on our shared Google Drive to work on a group projects we're both involved in, and I noticed she had a personal folder that wasn't there before. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I was curious because she never mentioned it to me. Inside the folder, there was a Google Doc, and in that doc, I found something that broke me. It was a draft of a breakup letter, addressed to me. In the letter, she explained how she's been feeling for the past few months. She said that while she cares about me deeply, she no longer feels the spark she once did and has been considering ending things. She wrote about how she's felt distant, how she's changed as a person, and how she thinks we've grown apart. The worst part? She admitted she's developed feelings for someone else in one of her classes, though she claims nothing has happened between them yet. She even mentioned that she's been delaying the breakup because she doesn't want to hurt me, but she feels like it's inevitable. I'm sitting here, shattered. I don't even know how to process this. I didn't even know she was unhappy, let alone that she's been thinking about leaving me. We've had conversations about our future together, about moving in after college, even what we'd name our pets. I thought we were on the same page. The thing is, she hasn't broken up with me yet, so now I'm stuck pretending I don't know anything. Part of me wants to confront her, but another part of me is terrified of hearing her confirm what she wrote. I don't know how to act around her now, and I feel like I'm just waiting for the inevitable heartbreak. Should I bring this up, or should I wait for her to do it on her own terms? I feel completely blindsided and lost right now. If anyone has been through something like this, I could really use some advice. Story 17. I, 27M, accidentally sent a breakup text meant for my GF, 26 Farads, to my mom. This is hands down the worst mistake I've made in my life, and it's just as painful as it is hilarious in hindsight. So I, 27M, have been dating my girlfriend, 26 Farads, for 3 years. We live together, have a dog together, and I genuinely thought she was the one. But for the last year, things have been rocky. We've been arguing nonstop, we've both said some pretty hurtful things, and recently I've realized that I just don't see a future with her anymore. It's been a really difficult decision, but I knew breaking up was the right thing to do for both of us. I've been rehearsing in my head for days how to break the news to her, but I was too much of a coward to do it in person. So I decided I'd write out the breakup in a text, knowing it's not the best way to do it, but at least it would get everything out in the open. I spent like 30 minutes typing out this long, emotional message explaining why we couldn't be together anymore. I tried to be as gentle as possible, talking about how much I still cared for her, but that we'd grown apart and that it would be better for both of us to move on. Once the message was perfect, I hit send, and as soon as I did, my phone buzzed with a reply, but it wasn't from my girlfriend. It was from my mom. I had sent the entire breakup message to my mom instead of my girlfriend. Cue immediate panic. My mom, of course, had no idea what was going on. Her reply was a mix of confusion and concern. Are you okay? Who's this meant for? Meanwhile, my heart was racing because now I not only had to explain to my mom that I accidentally sent her a breakup message, but I still had to break up with my girlfriend. I called my mom right away, stammering through an explanation while she laughed, thankfully, and told me I needed to double check who I'm messaging before I send life-changing texts. She tried to be supportive, but I could hear the disappointment in her voice that I hadn't told her what was going on before. She said she's always there for me, but wished I'd been more open about the struggles in my relationship. Now I had to face the real issue, sending the actual breakup message to my girlfriend. I ended up retyping it, this time triple checking who I was sending it to, and waited for her reply, which came about an hour later. It was rough. She was hurt, obviously, and we had a long conversation afterward in person. We've decided to go our separate ways, and it's been hard, but I still can't stop cringing at the fact that my mom got the breakup text before my girlfriend did. TLDR, tried to break up with my girlfriend over text. Accidentally sent the message to my mom instead. Now I'm single and embarrassed.
Story 19. I, 22 Farads, lost my best friend, 23 Farads, over a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. I've been grappling with this situation for a few weeks now, and I still can't believe how quickly everything fell apart. I'm 22 Farads, and my best friend, 23 Farads, and I have been inseparable since high school. We've shared everything, our dreams, our fears, and even our darkest secrets. I always thought nothing could come between us, but I guess I was wrong. A few weeks ago, I started talking to a guy, 24M, from a local club. We hit it off really well, and I thought he was charming and fun. I didn't think it was serious, but I mentioned him to my friend during one of our hangouts. I told her about our conversations and how much I enjoyed spending time with him. She listened, but I could tell she wasn't really invested in the conversation. Fast forward to the weekend, and my friend and I went to a party together. The guy I'd been talking to showed up, and I was excited to introduce him to her. When I did, however, I noticed that my friend seemed a little off. She was polite, but her tone was cold, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later that night, we stepped outside for some fresh air, and I asked her what was bothering her. That's when she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that she used to have a crush on him back in high school and felt betrayed that I hadn't told her sooner. I was taken aback because I honestly had no idea she ever liked him. I apologized and explained that I wasn't trying to hurt her, I was just excited about someone new. But instead of calming down, she got even more upset. She accused me of being selfish and not caring about her feelings. I tried to defend myself, but it felt like I was talking to a wall. The argument escalated quickly, and by the end of the night, she stormed off, leaving me feeling lost and confused. The next day, I reached out to her, hoping to apologize again and clear the air. Instead, I received a message saying she needed time apart and didn't want to talk. I felt crushed. I never intended to hurt her, and the thought of losing our friendship over this misunderstanding made me sick. Days turned into weeks, and despite my attempts to reach out, she didn't respond. I felt like I was losing a part of myself. We've shared so many memories, and the idea of never laughing together again was heartbreaking. I started to wonder if I had been a terrible friend all along. Eventually, I decided to give her space and focus on my own mental health. I talked to other friends about it and tried to remind myself that sometimes friendships can be complicated. But the pain of losing her still lingers, and I can't help but feel regret over how everything unfolded. Now I'm sitting here, hoping that she'll eventually come around. I miss her every day, and I wish I could turn back time to fix the misunderstanding. If anyone has advice on how to mend a broken friendship, or if you've gone through something similar, I'd love to hear it.
Story 20. I, 29 Farads, broke my husband's 30M heart after he surprised me with a pregnancy announcement. This is incredibly hard for me to share, but I feel like I need to let it out and see if anyone can relate to my situation. I'm a 29-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband, 30M, for 3 years. We've always talked about having kids in the future, but we had agreed to wait until we felt more stable financially and emotionally. A few weeks ago, I started feeling a little off, so I took a pregnancy test just to be sure. To my surprise, it came back positive. I was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions: happiness, anxiety, and fear. My husband had been so excited about the prospect of starting a family, but I was worried that we weren't ready yet. I didn't tell him right away because I wanted to figure out how I felt first. But when I finally did, I wanted it to be a surprise. I planned this elaborate evening where I'd cook his favorite meal, decorate the house with baby-themed decorations, and reveal the news. I thought it would be a special moment for both of us. That night, as I was getting everything ready, I felt a knot in my stomach. I was still unsure about whether I wanted to go through with it. I had envisioned us being parents eventually, but now that the moment was here, I was filled with doubts. When he came home and saw the decorations, his face lit up with excitement. He rushed to me, and I could see the hope and joy in his eyes. It broke my heart to think about what I was about to do. As I revealed the pregnancy, I saw his expression shift from joy to confusion. I hesitated, but finally I had to be honest with him. I told him that while I was pregnant, I wasn't sure I was ready to have a baby. The look on his face shattered me. I could see the disappointment and heartbreak wash over him. He had been looking forward to this moment, and here I was, bringing doubt into what should have been one of the happiest moments of our lives. He tried to understand, but I could tell he was crushed. In the days that followed, our conversations became strained. I couldn't shake the guilt I felt for letting him down. I love my husband, and I know how much he wants to be a father. But at the same time, I'm terrified of becoming a parent when I don't feel ready. I've thought about going through with the pregnancy, but I also can't ignore my feelings. I'm afraid of losing him if I decide to terminate it, but I'm equally scared of ruining our lives if we bring a child into this world when we're not prepared. It feels like I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know how to choose. If anyone has been in a similar situation or has any advice, I'd really appreciate it. I don't want to hurt my husband, but I also need to think about what's best for me and our future.
Story 21. I, 24M, found out my best friend, 24M, has been dating my ex, 23 Farads, behind my back. I'm writing this from a place of anger and heartbreak, and I need to get this off my chest. I'm 24M, and I've had the same best friend, 24M, since we were kids. We've been through everything together: school, breakups, even the death of family members. He was always the guy I turned to for support. A few months ago, I broke up with my girlfriend, 23 Farads, after a 2-year relationship. Things had been rocky for a while, and we decided it was better to go our separate ways. It was painful, but I felt ready to move on. We've been broken up for about 6 months, and I thought I was doing well. Last week, I was out with some friends, and one of them mentioned seeing my ex with someone else at a cafe. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw a picture on Instagram that made my heart drop. It was a photo of my ex and my best friend smiling and holding hands, with the caption, "Happy together." My stomach sank. I felt betrayed not just by my ex, but by the guy I considered my brother. I confronted my best friend later that night, and I was honestly furious. When I asked him how long this had been going on, he looked at me with this guilty expression. He admitted they had started dating about 2 months after my breakup, which meant he'd been seeing her behind my back for half a year. He tried to defend himself by saying that they had feelings for each other and that he didn't know how to tell me. I told him that regardless of their feelings, he should have come to me first. We've always had this unspoken rule that if one of us is dating someone, the other should stay away, especially if it's an ex. It felt like a complete betrayal. After that conversation, things escalated. I ended up shouting at him, telling him how hurt I was and how he had crossed a line that should never have been crossed. He apologized, but it felt hollow. I needed time to think, so I told him I needed space and that I couldn't be friends with him right now. Now I'm sitting here feeling completely lost. I've lost my girlfriend and my best friend in one fell swoop, and I'm struggling to cope with this feeling of betrayal. I can't believe they both went behind my back. I'm heartbroken and don't know how to navigate this situation. Should I try to salvage our friendship, or is it better to just cut ties and move on? Any advice would be appreciated. I, 27M, found out my childhood best friend, 27M, has been lying to me for years about his life. This story is hard for me to share because it's been weighing on me for so long. I'm 27M, and I've been best friends with my childhood friend, 27M, since we were kids. We grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same schools, and even attended college together. We've always been there for each other through thick and thin, or so I thought. About a year ago, I started to notice some inconsistencies in the stories he would tell me about his life. He always painted this picture of success, having a great job, a loving girlfriend, and an exciting social life. I was genuinely happy for him and thought we were both on the same page as we navigated adulthood. However, things started to feel off when I noticed he never introduced me to his girlfriend or any of his supposed friends. When I asked about them, he'd always brush it off, saying they were busy or that he didn't want to mix circles. It made me feel uneasy, but I wanted to trust him. One night, we were hanging out, and he mentioned a promotion at work that would require him to move to another city. I was surprised because he had never mentioned applying for any promotion. It just didn't add up, and my gut instinct told me to dig deeper. So I did some light research online and found out that the company he claimed to work for didn't even have a branch in our city. At that point, I was confused and hurt. Why would my best friend lie to me about something like this? I confronted him, and he finally broke down. It turned out that he hadn't been completely honest about his life. He was unemployed, had been living with his parents for the past few years, and had fabricated stories about relationships and job offers to make himself seem more successful. I felt betrayed and angry. I couldn't believe that someone I trusted with my life had been living a lie. He told me he felt ashamed and didn't want to burden me with his struggles. But instead of bringing me closer, it pushed us apart. I spent a lot of time thinking about our friendship and whether I could forgive him. It felt like everything we had built was based on a foundation of lies. I eventually decided to give him another chance, but it hasn't been easy. We've had to rebuild trust, and it's been a long process. I still struggle with feelings of resentment and disappointment, but I also see the vulnerability in his confession. If anyone has dealt with similar situations, I'd appreciate any advice on how to navigate this complicated friendship moving forward. It's hard to reconcile the love I have for my friend with the hurt he caused.